Hello everyone, I'm Mei-Ling Liu. This is my final presentation for CalMet Business Law class. The topic of my final project is shareholder rights in corporation. What does shareholder mean? Shareholders are the owner of a company. They can be any person, company, or other institution that owns at least one share in a company. A shareholder may also be referred as a stockholder. They have the potential to profit if the company does well, but that comes with the potential to lose if the company does poorly. Stock subscription is an agreement to purchase a given number of shares at the specified price at a later date. Often, a down payment is required, and typically, the payments are on an installment basis. It is a legal contract that is reflected in a debit owner's equity contract account. Subscribed stock is credited as the capital is contributed. There are two types of stock: common stock and preferred stock. Holders of common stock exercise control by electing a board of directors and voting on corporate policy. Common stockholders are on the bottom of the priority ladders from ownership structure. In case of liquidation happened, common shareholders have rights to a company's assets only after bondholder, preferred shareholders, and other debt holders have been paid in full. These make common stock riskier than debt or preferred shares. So the lowest level of stock in a corporation is common stock. Preferred shareholders have a priority over common stockholders on earning and assets in the event of a liquidation, and they have a fixed dividend paid before common stockholders. But investors must weigh these positives against the negatives, including giving up their voting rights and less potential for appreciation. Transfer of shares. The shares of ownership may be transferred by the delivery of the certificate, accompanied by a separate assignment or power of attorney executed by the owner. Transferring stock is a relatively simple transaction to complete. It is important to understand the circumstances of the transfer. A gift, a trust, an investment, even a loan can be accomplished by transferring stock. But each circumstance may have tax consequences. Consult a knowledgeable party before completing the transfer is very important. The rights of shareholders. First of all, shareholder meetings and voting rights. Shareholders hold general meetings on an annual basis or at a fixed time according to the bylaw of the corporation. The primary purpose of these meetings is for shareholders to elect the directors of the corporation. In addition to the election of the directors depends on the issue affecting the corporation. Here, the following are the general rights to express approval or disapproval of these matters. Shareholder can approval or disapproval of change in the article of incorporation. A merger with another corporation. Approve or not approve the sale of substantially all the corporation's assets that is not in the ordinary course of the corporation's business. And next is approval or disapproval of the voluntary dissolution of the corporation. And about the corporate transactions where some directors have a conflict of interest. Approval or not approval the amendments to bylaw or articles of incorporation, and also make non-binding recommendations about the governance and the management of the corporation to the board of directors. A shareholder has the right to authorize another person to vote the shares owned by the shareholder. As noted above, many of the rights afforded to shareholders are contained in each corporation's article of incorporation bylaws. It is also noteworthy that shareholders generally do not have the right to vote on management issues that occurred in the ordinary course of the corporation's business. Many decisions of the corporation must be made by the board of directors or officers of the corporation, and in most cases, shareholders may not compel the board or officer to take or refrain from taking any action. Other in general, shareholders have the right to vote on questions affecting the company as a whole, to hold a proportionate ownership in the assets of the company, to transfer ownership to their shares, to receive dividends when declared by the board of directors, to inspect the corporate books and records, to sue the corporation for wrongful acts, and to share in the proceeds of corporate liquidation. Shareholders' liabilities. Unlike the owner of some other type of business organizations, shareholders in a corporation generally are protected from liability for the actions and operation of this type of business enterprise. This means that the shareholder is not personally liable for the debt and liability of the corporation, so there is no personal liability for any unpaid balance. In other words, the owner of the limited liability entity, shareholders are generally shielded from personal liability for claim against the corporation. So if a corporation incurs a debt or obligation against it, creditor cannot recover the personal assets of the shareholders. The limited liability of a shareholder of a corporation commences the moment she obtains stock in a company and throughout the entire period of ownership. In addition, if the shareholder sells her stock, she remains protected for any claim made for something the corporation did during her period of ownership, even if the claim is made following her stock sale. The corporation's obligation to protect her personal interests continues. A shareholder's limited liability extends to different aspects of corporation's operation. A shareholder is not personally responsible for tax of the corporation. In addition, a shareholder is not personally responsible for damage to a third party as the result of the corporation's operations. There is a warning. A corporation must make sure it remains in full compliance with the law. For example, the corporation must maintain minutes for meetings of the board of directors and must file annual reports. If a corporation fails to comply with the legal requirements, shareholders end up exposed. For example, a person with a claim against a corporation out of compliance with the law, so they can seek compensation directly from shareholders. The end. Here I want to say thank you to Professor Tong for his teaching. I hope you all have a very wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year. Goodbye.